Hello and welcome to Kevin's full progress update on the bunch of new modding features I've just been fixing up. And that was the last line of code I added. I call that method twice now to load English twice instead of once. You may think it's unnecessary to load it twice, but actually I need to load it once when it will only pick up the core text so it can tell me what it's doing and stuff at the start, and second after I've loaded all the mods. And also resources is now different. Should we load it up? Still about the same as last time. I'm not sure if I... No, I didn't. So recently I deleted the test for the new animated texture system, which is similar to the sheet texture system, except that it's animated and there's one texture per file. And you can still stack these tools. I don't know why I haven't fixed that. We have platinum tools and we have sacred shovels and stuff. I didn't fully mind that one. Dum, 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 dum. This is a feature of Kevin's. If you start mining something and then like you accidentally stop, then you can continue. There you go. So if I mine like this, it works. Not recommended though, because it mines slower. So we have some glass in our inventory. The main point is that these silver hatchets are called silver hatchets. Well, yeah, and the only other things that really changed since last time, if I close, or F4, is all the techie behind the scenes stuff, how it works. The vanilla plugin, as you see, it's got this resources folder, which is specified here. So a plugin can now specify its own resources folder. And a resources folder has certain subfolders. And if, for instance, you put an item if in your resources folder that you specified, in your animated text, make an animated texture folder inside that, make an items folder inside that, and put a bunch of textures in there, then you can use the system. It's pretty much the same as Minecraft's now. The texture system, the ATLs, the animated texture system is almost exactly the same, except it supports files that describe the entire thing, and also it doesn't use 2D textures, it uses 2D array. If I build. Yeah. So basically, within my specified resources folder, animated texture items, add any item here and it will go onto the item's animated texture, as long as you specified the resource folder in the plugin now. If instead of using the animated texture folder, you go into the lang folder and you add a file to this, ngb.lang, that specifies some language files for English. And if I then have another mod, load that mod's ngb as well. So that's how you get all your language stuff in there. It also supports actually me adding my own resources.yml file, which is this file here in the main resources folder in the client. So I could add my own stuff and then I could define my own textures. If I wanted to add like my own animated texture for some odd reason, my own shader I think works. I could add my own cheat texture, animated texture, shader. I don't think fonts work. Fonts require a mod. GUI will work as well. What I'm actually planning on doing is reversing... not this again. reversing the order. I might do this in this video. Just a simple switch-o that I'm going to do, basically. I'm going to start with the language one. This will just make it more moddable. If you know what I mean. It should be here. If instead of starting like that, we do this. Oh. Resources. List. Issue rules equals that. And then we do for int d equals rules dot size -1. D is bigger than -1. Subtract from D. Then we can do URL equals rules dot get. And what that therefore lets me do, I'm going this way, is it will load the mod stuff first before it loads my stuff. And then you think, why didn't he do this in the first place? The answer is the reason why I didn't do this in the first place is because we want to load the mod stuff last. Undo that. Change it back. Because that means we can then override with language files. Anything like that, really. If you want to know how animated textures work at the moment, they're using... I'll show you the loader, and you should get a good idea of how it works. Client animated texture loader. We still have the old one there. This is the loader. It just does a bunch of stuff you don't want to know. All the actual awesome part of the loading that you probably want to know more about is done in this file, in the load method. So I'll go over it. So it gets a load of images that it found in the package. So of course I can't just load these images. I've got to do some stuff to them first. So first I iterate. I try and find the texture while I'm out if there is one, and I haven't done that yet because I haven't implemented a way for it to get it off the default package, rather than if currently this would look for it in the mod in the vanilla plugin folder, so I need to fix that. So first iterate over them. We are going through each image. We are checking if it's applicable. First one here checks if the image width is a power of 2, which it must be. Second one here says if it's wider than 512 pixels, then it's too big. It's too wide. Next one says if the height is not divisible by the width, then or the height is less than the width, then it's not allowed. And the next one is just not really a test anymore. I have a widest integer up here. If its width is wider than the widest image so far, then set the widest image to its width, and then we add it to the next list. Then the next iterate, what we're doing is we're going through each image and we're scaling it up to the widest width. So if that bigger is 1, bigger is not equal, it's bigger than 1, then that's when we want to scale the image. So here we do it is if the image's width is not the same as its height, therefore if it's got some frames, if it's got more than one frame in it, then we add it to the animation queue, and we scale it so that its width is the same as its height, and its height is the same as its width, so we only get the first frame, and we add that to sized images. And next one is we check the prefix. If that's enabled, we put a transparent texture at position 0 and a white text. It's enabled by default. A white texture at position 1, which means I can use a transparent and a white texture if I need to in my code. And after that, we begin the big iterate. We start iterating over them and putting all their data into buffers, into the byte buffer. Then we flip it over and load it up. And then finally we go back to the ones we flagged for animation and we load them up. Basically, we load each frame into its own byte buffer, and then we index each of these frames into the animation's parts. Well, actually, I call them parts instead of frames for a reason. The part refers to one of the bits of the image, and it's 0 based, which I think might be different to the Minecraft system. Then once that's done, we load the frames by reading the text file, the first line of the text file, and then we just simply load it like a Minecraft format. Which, what this allows us to do is have multiple frames use the same byte buffer. And what it does is if it detects that the current frame is different, if we're using a different part, then it will yield text subimage 3D. And then what this does is it overrides a certain bit of the texture with the different frame, so that when I see it on the screen, it will see whatever I put in there last. And that's it. Holy cow.